Nice.
This solidarity.
Christ.
We all come from KG. I was being oppressed.
No,
it's not. We all did. You want to know why? Because PNG was one thing. How do we? You tell me how we don't all come from PNG. And PNG is one thing. Where are we living? In water?
We weren't existing when Pangea was a
Yes, we were.
No, we weren't. No. What is this? Were you there? Were you there? Were you there? No, neither. Shut up. Sounds like you were there, man. I don't even know.
How do you think you ain't even know? You ain't even about that. There used to be a land bridge, and then the land bridge closed off, and they got stuck there. How do you think?
Well, yeah, the land bridge wasn't a part of it. They were always when the continents were already formed.
And Pangea was breaking apart.
Try telling me they weren't. Robert, they weren't always here. So the land bridge still exists. It's just now we can't cut off the class anymore.
Who's that handsome man up there?
Oh shit.
One of the great guys. I don't see any.
No, I don't like it.
Oh, no, you can work.
No, this is work.
We can get a light on camera.
Wonder how far down, like
You can't
You
give
see
me.
the screen.
I did nothing but
See
run
the
in this
screen.
one.
Oh, bro, that's.
God.
like conception.
Yeah.
Great classroom within a class.
Which one are we? Which one's the real one? How do we know this one?
It's just a mirror to a parallel universe.
So 7.
See if Elijah knows. Do you know?
Scotty doesn't.
Elijah. He doesn't know.
Shut the fuck
Alright, so this is being recorded. Pretty much, I'm gonna let Justin and Kayla answer for their stuff.
Hi, Kayla.
What?
What did you look like? I'm telling Kayla hi from the house.
Hello.
So that means I can't cut off. Can't what?
Cut up.
No silly business.
No silicones, right?
Already too late for that.
Yeah.
It's already too.
Cut the Pangea and.
I'm mentally prepared to start.
I don't know. I will be missing our Taco Bell demographic today.
Oh my god. Justin's 169
All right, raceways. So just remember, a raceway is, by definition, a closed channel designed to use expressly for holding wires, cables, or other conductors. So a raceway can be, this is a raceway, this metal pipe right here, this piece of shit plastic stuff is also a raceway. Cable trays are also raceways. Anything that's going to move a wire from one place to another is a raceway. A lot of times people just think raceways are conduit or raceways. Raceway is a broad term for just distribution of wires and cables. Trade terms, a lot of those are going to be good to know, and a lot of them you should know: bonding, cable tray, conductors, conduit, conduit, kick, raceway, rain tight. You're probably going to know most of those whenever you're reading through those. I don't have any highlights on page 1, but it's going to talk about how stuff is regulated in the NEC code. Like there is, like the Uglies book is good for, like that's something I actually did use at work. How many number 12 wires can I fit in this piece of 1/2 inch EMT? Like that's good to know. And usually it's, surprisingly, it's more than I ever expected to. Like it's not 6, it's maybe, I thought it was like 8, but it's not an easy pull for the amount of wires that they allow you to pull through there. But yeah, like all that stuff's gonna be in the NEC, also in y'all's Uglies book and stuff like that. A quick look up. Pages 2 and 3, metal conduit. Most of this stuff, y'all run conduit at work?
Nope.
Rigid or EMT?
Nope.
Remember, Robert? Was it, huh?
GMT.
Was it threaded? Nope. So it was like this thin wall tubing stuff. So a lot, you run this in like the office space and stuff like that. But like usually if you get out to industrial setting, you're running rigid metal conduit, stuff that people could potentially step on. A lot more rigid, a lot thicker wall. Like that's this stuff right here. My first highlight is in 111, second sentence. RMC, figure 1, provides the best physical protection for conductors. It's pretty hard. Usually the thing that breaks for RMC are the couplings that hook it to a box or something like that. It's not usually, it's not the conduit itself. If you're bending RMC, you're doing something to it. Conduits or conduit bodies. So remember talking about these? Type C is just a straight through, but you can use this. What can you also use this as? Pull point. So if you're getting close to that, how many degrees can you have? 360 degrees. So say you're at 270 degrees, and you need a pull point. You can put one of these in, and that resets your degrees. So you can start pulling another 360 after this. So you can use this as a pull station. Type T, don't get type. Sometimes people get type T and type X mixed up. T only has 3 inserts. Type X has 4. Everybody remember how to tell the difference between LL, LB, and LR?
That's how you hold the gun.
How you hold a gun. So if I held this right here,
You go to the left side.
it'll be on the left side, so that's an LL. This is on the back, so LB. On the right, LR. They also have type LRL, which has an opening on both sides, which I've never seen one of. They do make fancier conduits that have all kinds of openings on them. I'll look one up here in a little bit. But need to know, like all that's on page 3, like the type C, L, LR, LB, LR. You should at least know what those are. I don't have highlights in them. But it's going to talk about those. It also talks about how you can have aluminum conduit. I have some aluminum rigid conduit, and while that's not going to be as good of a protector as steel, it is a lot lighter. It's a lot easier to mess with, and it's not. What's another advantage of aluminum over steel?
Rust more.
It's not going to rust. It will. If you have to, it does have a coating on it. So if you thread the ends of aluminum, you still need to put some type of coating on there so it doesn't. A lot of times you also use conduit as your ground. So aluminum will oxidize, and that oxidation is an insulator. So you want to make sure you don't have too much oxidation on your threads to where it insulates from each other. That it's not a direct path back to ground for like a ground fault. Page 4. The first full sentence on page 4 is what we've already talked about. To determine the type L conduit body, hold the body like a pistol. If the opening's on the top or back, it's LB. If the opening's on the left, it's LL. If the opening's on the right, it's LR. If the opening's on both sides, it's type LRL. Also, last full sentence on the page, the type X conduit bodies are used to provide a junction for 4 intersecting points. You can also have RMC unions. Anybody used a union before? These are what professional conduit people will make fun of you for using. And the reason for that is how whenever we bent conduit and stuff, I told y'all, go ahead and make your bends and cut the excess off.
Yeah.
That's how I've always been conduit. I don't ever need to figure out my gain and figure out I'm going to be 5/16 inch long. I'll cut it off. I don't care. But if I'm doing a few different bends or a few different pieces of conduit connected together, sometimes you get, if I was having to run here and run up this desk and there was something else right here, I'd run this conduit behind, bend it straight up. And then I realized I need to twist this piece of conduit on to that piece of conduit down there. Well, this piece of conduit's not going to spin all the way around to thread onto that one, right? So you can use one of these unions will save your butt. You can connect this side to one piece of conduit, this side to the other, and it's like a compression type fitting where you can connect them together. Disadvantage, these are about, I mean, these look nicer, but usually about $15 a piece. So where a union would be 50 cents, this is substantially more, but they'll save you in a pinch. They'll also save you if you ever have to cut a piece of conduit out and just install a new piece of conduit. It's like there's unions on the process control trainer for the flow meter stuff where I took off both sides. Those are also unions, so you can take out a whole piece of conduit or something like that. It's something just removable. Page 6, you're going to have bushings. So you always put these bushings on the inside of pipe whenever you're running stuff. You also have these grounding lock nuts in case you need to run a grounding wire. These are called Myers hubs, or at least that's what I call them. I'm sure they're called, conduit hubs. Myers hub is like the Kleenex name for them. I think there's a brand called Myers that usually makes them. I like those. Those are pretty useful. This is what you attach to your metal box that you attach your conduit to. So it has a bushing built into it. I always like those the best. Nothing highlighted on page 6. Page 7, everybody remember seal-off fittings? So shoving the fiber dam, that's a little bit different stuff. It looks like that stuff is already pre-mixed. The fiber dam's doesn't just look like a cotton ball, it's actual fiber, but shove the fiber down, create a dam, pour the stuff in the top, and it seals off the fitting. All y'all's turned out pretty good that was the first time I've ever done that with the class. Seems like it works like it should.
I like it.
Page 8 talks about the steps of doing that. If you had a pump, that would definitely probably make it a lot easier. But we had styrofoam bowls for this as well. Electrical metallic tubing and fittings. So that's EMT, otherwise known as, well, this is the first highlight in 112 on page 9 is 1, 2, 3, 4th sentence in 112 because of the wall thickness of EMT is less than that of rigid metal conduit. It's often referred to as thin wall conduit. Most everybody refers to it as EMT. And that's this stuff on the walls here. This is the stuff you can bend with your hands and stuff. Something that is good to know is not this picture. The picture on the top right, they do have IMC, which is intermediate metallic conduit. Again, I've never seen that before. But that picture in the top right of page 9, your ID, so your interior diameter of EMT and RMC is the same size. So whenever they say half-inch conduit for EMT and RMC are the same interior diameter. So you should be able to run the same amount of wires the same size throughout. The OD is what changes. So your wall thickness has to get bigger. So your OD is what changes, and that's why this stuff is a nominal size. It's not like tubing; it's conduit. So the nominal size is half-inch, but it's not actually half an inch. Paragraph on the right-hand side of page 9. Last 2 sentences are highlighted. Last third of the paragraph is highlighted. Rain-tight EMT couplings and connectors are designed with a compression ring and a compression nut, which when tightened form a rain-tight seal between the fitting and the conduit. The immediate next sentence is separate highlight. Examples of an EMT compression coupling and EMT compression connector are shown in figure 18, which is at the bottom. Those are compression couplings.
I wonder if they're swage locked.
I don't think they're swage locked. No, those don't have ferrous. The first 2 sentences of the next paragraph are also highlighted. Use set screw type fittings when installing an EMT conduit system in a dry location such as indoors. Several examples of set screw fittings are shown in figure 19. You can flip over to page 10. Those are the set screw fittings on the top of page 10. I'm not a huge fan of the set screw type just because they don't seem to actually hold the pipe super well. I like the compression stuff, just seems quicker to me. I don't have anything in IMC, intermediate metallic conduit, but that's just it's a heavier wall tubing that has a thickness that's less than RMC, but more than EMC. Flexible metal conduit and fittings. So you can have liquid type and non-liquid type flexible metal conduit. You can also have, pictures. Like a lot of people think that the non-liquid type metal conduit that you see in figure 20A is the same thing as RC cable, MC cable, metal clad cable, but it's not. Metal clad cable comes with the wires in it. This is something that you can run and then fish wires through it. So you would run, maybe like, where would you use this flexible metal conduit and fittings?
To mount to an instrument or a motor or stuff like that.
Because why?
Because it vibrates.
Vibrates. If you don't want to mount a piece of steel rigid pipe to something that's going to sit there and vibrate, in a day that coupling or nut or whatever is going to loosen up. And you put this stuff on there so it gives it a little bit of play. On the other side of this, you also, I've learned this the hard way, but don't run this stuff more than 5-6 feet. Like we've had electricians that run this stuff 20 feet because it's easy and just put one eye straps on it and it looks like a dog's ass. Like that's kind of the cheap way of doing stuff. Run a piece of conduit all the way there, and then your last little bit run a piece of flex. And it's even fine for like running a piece of flex. Like if you had a piece of instrumentation, like a differential pressure meter or something like that, run a piece of rigid all the way there. And then like you're not going to get the piece of rigid to exactly match up with your piece of instrumentation. Run that piece of flex the last foot. And that way, whenever you need to switch out the piece of instrumentation, it's a lot easier to pull the conduit off and stuff like that. So you have the non-liquid type and liquid type. You can also have the metal that is also liquid type. So it looks like the liquid type stuff, but it also has metal in it. On page 11, second paragraph, third sentence is highlighted. Liquid type, FMC or LFMC, has an outer covering of plastic, like sunlight resistant flexible material that acts as a moisture seal. Y'all ever made up like a liquid tight or a flexible coupling connector or anything like that?
Yeah, I had to run some liquid type conduit to one of the machines off of the supplies.
Like they're pretty easy. Like you just pull the collar off and then you have a little plug that you shove in the end.
Yeah, where it doesn't get ripped up or stuff.
Yeah. I might go grab one of those from next door to just show y'all. Conduit nipples, 115, bottom left. Sentence all the way in the bottom left of page 11. It's highlighted. From this statement, it's generally accepted that a conduit nipple is considered any section of conduit not greater than 24 inches in length. So any piece of conduit that's less than 2 feet is considered conduit nipple. And that's usually just used to connect two other pieces of conduit or two pieces of something together. Page 12 shows the offset nipples. So whereas like I've got that EMT conduit bender where I can just put an offset in the end of my piece of pipe, you can also buy these for boxes. Instead of doing that little back-to-back 10-degree offset bend, you can throw one of these on your box, and that allows you to go from your box to the wall without having to put a bend in your piece of pipe and make it pretty easy. But those are for EMT boxes. Those aren't. I don't think those will match up to RMC. Don't think. Never use those for RMC. Metal boxes, tons of different types of metal boxes. They're all going to have knockouts or KOs, where you can knock out either 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch holes. Nothing highlighted in that, but just one word of advice. Like if you ever knock out a hole and then you end up using a different hole. I always carried plastic caps for all my stuff. It is an OSHA requirement that you do not have a hole in a box. Like we were about to get inspected for like a big OSHA thing, and like I literally walked around the steel plant for like 3 or 4 hours with like a pocket full of any size cap from 1/2 inch to 2 inch, and went to like all the low voltage boxes and where people had pulled stuff out or knocked a hole in or something like that, and just pop these little plugs in, because people they'll ding you for stuff like that. Non-metallic conduit, 120. Second paragraph, first 2 sentences. So it splits the page. Because non-metallic conduit does not conduct electricity, it does not have the bonding characteristics of metal conduit. Therefore, a separate bare grounding wire must be installed inside the conduit to provide a path to the service equipment grounding conductor. So PVC cannot conduct electricity, whereas EMT and rigid can provide a path for your ground faults to go back to earth. PVC cannot, so you have to run a whole separate ground wire anytime you're doing that stuff. 121, rigid, non-metallic conduit and fittings. First sentence of 121 is highlighted. The most common type of rigid non-metallic conduit is made of polyvinyl chloride, commonly referred to as PVC or PVC conduit. Usually, like they call that the gray or electrical conduit. So Home Depot. The right-hand side of page 13, the second to last paragraph on the page, that little bit bigger paragraph. I've got the sentence where you see figure 29 highlighted. To avoid damage to PVC conduit caused by temperature changes, expansion couplings are used. I've shown you all the expansion coupling before, haven't I?
Okay, learn about it.
Yeah, I know I showed you all, but I don't think I'll just pull one up.
Where was that one at?
Second to last paragraph on page 13.
It's like in the middle of it.
Middle of the paragraph, right where you see figure 29 italicized. So something like this, like PVC, can expand over time. So this has like a seal inside of it. So whenever you install this, you install it like halfway to where whenever it gets hot, it can expand, and cold, it can contract. It's like that, the tubing guy was talking about vinyl siding. Like vinyl siding gets wider, and then shrinks up in the winter. If you ever see like on the side of the building where somebody's crappily run some plastic conduit and it's all kinds of bent up and cracked and broken stuff, it's probably because they didn't put, they ran everything pretty tight and didn't put an expansion coupling in it. Page 14, electrical non-metallic tubing. So this is this orange stuff you see on the board. I've never really run this stuff. I think this is more for like light industrial applications. It seems like it's just the stuff you can tell just kind of clips in to places, so it's not going to be super rigid. But 122 on page 14, first sentence is highlighted. Another non-metallic conduit product that has become very common in residential and some commercial wiring applications is electrical non-metallic tubing, known as Smurf tube.
Told you, guaranteed picture today. I got one.
I don't know how they say, like the next sentence says, the slang term associates with the product's typical bright blue color and blue cartoon characteristics. And then figure 30, they show
Orange, right?
Orange.
It's cartoon characteristic, man.
Find a different picture.
That is pretty cartoony.
That is, but like if you're calling it Smurf tube, so and you're saying that it's blue, and then you show a picture of orange TNT.
I don't know if I want to see it. Oh, you looked it up, that's all pretty simple.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Might be a swollen wing.
That's what I'm
Conduit,
talking about.
conduit supports 130. One hole and two hole straps. My highlight in that is the second to last sentence of 131. The clamp strap is used to space conduit 1/4 inch away from the surface and wet locations. So they don't give me that picture, but you can see the clamp strap on page 15. So you have, like, you would mount that to the wall, and then your strap would go on top of that, hold it 1/4 inch away from the wall. You have one hole and two hole straps that you're going to use for EMT. Whenever you guys are running EMT in a horizontal path, I've always been told, I don't think it says this anywhere, but I've always been told to put the screw on the bottom. And that way that kind of holds the weight rather than the one hole strap carrying the weight. It can kind of sit on that screw or whatever to hold the weight. Standoff supports 132. The sentence that has the blue highlighted kicks in it is highlighted. If standoff supports are used, the conduit is held away from the supporting surface and no offsets are normally required in the conduit. Next sentence is also highlighted. Standoff supports may be used to support all types of conduit, including RMC, IMC, MT, PVC, flex, as well as tubing installations. So they called these supports that are on the wall here. You can see them over by the plug over there. They call them mineral lac, is what the book says. I've never heard that like out in the field or anything like that. But it's just instead of having to do offset bends or a kick or something like that, this allows you to just run it straight. Like, it makes it a lot quicker to run that stuff. Beam clamps 134. These are also super useful, especially in industrial settings. This up here on the board is a beam clamp, and then you can put a piece of all thread on the bottom of it, and then hang any kind of like pipe hanger or something like that. The hang stuff, the highlight in that is the third sentence. So second to last sentence on page 15. One end of the threaded rod is attached to the hanger, and the other end is attached to a beam clamp.
Almost like a bit of name.
You got 3 questions on page 16.
Farther into some.
Nothing.
Just keep eating it.
You take another picture of me?
No. No.
Alright, I got those number one, conduit and raceway components mounted in areas requiring frequent washdown must be supported off of wall surfaces a distance of quarter inch. 2, expansion couplings are frequently used on long runs to keep temperature changes from damaging what type of conduit?
B.
PVC. 3, standoff supports may be used to support all types of conduit. Do y'all know what up here on the board what these stand for?
Original conduit.
Green.
The one we did not talk about. What does G stands for? Type of coating.
Gypsum. Gray. Galvanized.
Galvanized.
Electrometallic.
Electrical metallic, tubing.
There you go.
Intermediate metallic, metal
Metal
conduit.
conduit.
Intermediate metal conduit.
Metal conduit. Metal conduit. Flexible, yeah.
Alright.
Lauren.
LMFC.
Type of designation.
Left facing left on it. It makes sense.
Type of protection.
Lithium.
Light.
Linoleum.
Liquid type.
Liquid type flexible.
I don't remember what RNC. Oh, rigid non-metallic. I should have known that one. electrical non-metallic tubing. Smurf tubing.
Hey, Smurf.
Type L.
So they call me
That's
high
the
school.
one that goes to the left.
Right.
Bofa.
Could you not?
That's what I'm saying.
That's the way Elijah eats. I'm pretty sure he doesn't swallow his food whole, or he swallows his food whole. He doesn't chew it.
And
So
he's
he
got
chokes on
he's
it.
got a gullet. And he crushes in his gullet like a parakeet.
What? Yeah.
Does Berkey have a bullet?
It's a bird.
Something
I understand
that's-
it's a bird.
Birds usually eat like that.
It's a bird. It's a bird.
That was the first bird that came to mind. A pigeon would have been better.
Fucking parakeet.
Maybe they do. I don't know about the internals of a bird.
Didn't graduate from biology, so I don't know.
200, installing conduit. 201, whole first two sentences are highlighted. Type of conduit that may be installed are listed below. They are arranged in order from least difficult and costly to install to most difficult and costly. And then I have electrical non-metallic tubing. Electrical non-metallic tubing is the easiest and cheapest to install. That's what you need to note on that. And rigid is the most expensive and hardest to install.
Probably lose the brand name.
It said ENT
It's not a brand name.
uses-
Yeah.
I don't think Richard makes conduit, ironically. Skip that paragraph and highlight some general concerns regarding conduit installation include the following. And then I have the fifth bullet point highlighted. Most commercial indoor raceway installations are done with EMT conduit systems with set screw connectors and couplings. Most of the time, EMT is done with set screw coupling. What's the other type of coupling that's used with EMT?
Compression.
Impression.
Depression.
Size requirements 202. Third sentence, long sentence. This is an online test question. Because the NEC and local codes only reflect the minimum requirement, it's common for conduit and raceway systems to be increased one or two sizes above the minimum to allow ease in conductor installation and for any conductor additions through the future expansion. That is true. If you're putting in new conduit and you know how many wires are going through it and you're already tight, size up. Because you're bound to either make it hard on yourself to pull the wires through there, or somebody else is gonna have to come behind you and put another wire through there, and it's gonna be a pain in the butt. What else do I say whenever you're installing new conduit? You pull the wires through. You can use the gorilla snot or whatever to lube it up.
Don't go too far.
Pull a pole line through there with your new conductors. And that way, 5 years down the road, if you're still working the same place and one of your conductors goes bad, or if you have to pull a new one or a twisted pair or something like that, not twisted pair, but a new set, like you have that pull string in there and you don't have to, it is very, very difficult to put even a metal, you don't even want to use a metal fish tape trying to fish it through a conduit with conductors already in it, especially if they're live, because metal can actually rub it and you can actually shock yourself with the metal fish tape. So you want to use a fiberglass one, and those are harder to push through. So do yourself a favor. It's cheap and easy. Just take a piece of that nylon string and pull it through all your new conduit with you. Just leave it. I usually just tie it to the side in a pull box or something like that. Just leave it in there to where it's not going to get pulled either way. You need to tie it up on both sides. But that last one was the online test question. Page 18 and 19. Cutting conduit. We threaded conduit last semester, didn't we? Or at least
Yeah,
pipe.
some of us did. Some of us
Bryce definitely
failed.
Might do that. Like, if we have time at the end, remind me, and we can thread some more stuff. It's pretty easy stuff, especially with the aluminum conduit that I have.
We all just want Bryce to do it.
Did you have issues with it last time?
No, I done exactly what you said, and it just took longer. Yes, I did. It was a quarter turn for every full turn.
He did the quarter
Of the
turn for
car.
every rotation.
Oh, I remember the video.
Yeah, it just took a while.
But he did.
So they give me shit about it.
He did.
No, everybody else did it right. So
No,
we did
actually, he did it right. Everybody else did it wrong.
it. No, we did it right.
No, it's you. I'm not gonna get there.
I did
Anyway,
it right. I thread pipe at work. I did it right.
I thread pipe at work. I didn't turn it too much, so I made a big old burr on the inside, and I shoved the wire through there and cut it up.
210.
Price didn't do every quarter turn for a full turn. He was doing like every 1/8 of a turn.
I was there, and I saw it.
And yes, he was doing it wrong.
There's a video somewhere
Yes.
floating around. 211, cutting RMC and IMC. That warning on page 18, the second sentence is highlighted. When using an electrically powered saw for cutting, make sure the saw is either double insulated or connected to a GFCI protected circuit. It's a bad day if you're cutting something with wires in it. Cut it live with the portable bandsaw.
Are you just emailing these videos, or are you posting them somewhere?
I had to talk to Louie about that because y'all know how you're. I don't know if y'all even know this, but usually when you're here, you're in a Canvas class.
Yeah, we were at Northrop, but I don't know much.
Right. Like, and you're supposed to be here, but he never opened that up. He was gonna open it up like he used to do, like a Canvas class for every class you're taking. So electrical 3, instrumentation 2, instrumentation 3, technical writing, leadership, and it's just too much because all I use Canvas for is to put a syllabus on there and I post your grades. So it's too much, and I don't even, with y'all, I know you don't care about grades that much at all.
Yeah.
But I gotta get him to post it. I would put him on there, especially like he'll be missing next week.
Yeah.
I have to figure out how I'm gonna get it to him. I'd rather do it on a Canvas thing where y'all can just log in and go to that. But if I have to email him, I'll see. And I don't know how big this is gonna be.
It ain't going to email, I'll tell you that.
Right. So we'll see how I'm gonna do it. I don't know. Might be a Google Drive thing, or I don't know yet. I don't have anything on page 19. It's like the warnings are good on that. Conduit edges can be razor sharp after you cut them and stuff like that. So always ream out your conduit. Even definitely the insides of the conduit. Page 20. Page 20 starts going through the steps of cutting conduit, cutting RMC and IMC. You can read through that if you want. That goes all the way to page 21. The biggest thing, not biggest thing, but make sure you're rotating the cutter in the correct way. You want to pull the cut. This is the cutting blade. These are the rollers. You want to pull the cutting blade into the pipe. So this is always rotating counterclockwise to pull it in there. Cutting EMT. It's going to talk about you're supposed to cut EMT with a hacksaw. I don't cut EMT with a hacksaw because it's a pain in the butt. I either cut it with a bandsaw or I cut it with a tubing cutter or pipe cutter. Too easy. But on the right-hand side of page 21, second paragraph, last sentence is highlighted. Remember that the blade cuts on the forward stroke. There should be no pressure on the saw as it is drawn back. So when you're using a hacksaw, it cuts whenever you're going forward, and then you put no pressure down whenever you're coming back. That is on the right-hand side of page 21, second paragraph, last sentence. Cutting flexible metal conduit and liquid type flexible metal conduit. The last sentence on the page going into the next page is highlighted. Using a hacksaw when cutting flexible metal conduit or liquid type flexible metal conduit provides better control that can be achieved with other cutting tools because a complete all the way through cut is not necessary when cutting with a hacksaw.
I went to cut that stuff with the hacksaw, and my boss was like, "You're an idiot, give me." And he took it and went, pow, and snapped it, and then cut it with.
Winding pliers.
Yeah, he's like, "That's how you do that." I was like, "Well, I did the other one with a hacksaw." He said, "You poor thing." He's like, "Dude, that's such a pain in the ass."
It is, and like, that's how I've always done it, like you can bend that stuff, just cut it with a pair of snips or lineman pliers, but make sure that crap is, especially with MC metal clad cable or that, flexible metal conduit, that where you cut that off is stupid sharp. So you wanna like tuck that back in there, and then there's another little red grommet that has to go in the end of that. Have to put that in there, or that piece of metal will poke through the wire. So I go through the steps of cutting FMC and LFMC. Read through those if you want. Deburring conduit, 220. Second sentence is highlighted in 220. The burr is more distinct and damaging to conductors in rigid metal conduit. Cut with a pipe cutter because the cutter wheel pushes on the conduit wall while cutting. That's why you want to have that. You only turn it quarter turn per turn or something like that. Because if you're going a lot faster, it leaves that big burr on the inside if you try to cut that thing super fast, even with a hand bender.
Which is what Jerry does.
Deburring rigid metal conduit and IMC. 221, page 23. Second paragraph is highlighted. There are two methods normally used in deburring rigid metal conduit RMC: using a half round file or using a pipe reamer. I don't know why, but usually whenever people say, what do you deburr the inside of rigid metal conduit with, the answers are like flat file, round file, half round file, stuff. People miss that one. Key in on that half round file. And that's so you can deburr the outside with the flat side and the inside with the round side of a half round file. Or you can have a pipe reamer that's up here on the board. This is used for EMT. I have one of these in the drawer in there. They work all right. I wouldn't say they're perfect. I really don't like the ones where they just sell the end of this that you put on your own screwdriver. I don't think those work well at all. But if you have the whole tool, it seems to work okay. I've also seen people take a piece of EMT on rough concrete and just kind of smooth it out in a pinch.
Okay, it'll work.
Seems to work. Page 24. Deburring EMT. Second paragraph, second sentence to the end of the paragraph. One example is shown in figure 45. This particular tool can be used on 3 different sizes of EMT. Slip the tool over the end of a square shaped screwdriver and secure the tool in place with set screws. Insert the tool in the end of the EMT and rotate the handle of the screwdriver back and forth to deburr the conduit. This simple tool is very popular and convenient method of deburring EMT. Deburring flexible metal conduit and liquid type flexible metal conduit. You don't deburr those with any kind of handheld pipe reamer. I've got the second sentence in 223 highlighted. In fact, if these 2 flexible metal conduits are cut properly according to the procedures previously described, it is not necessary to deburr them. 230, threading conduit. Second sentence of 230 is highlighted. Only rigid metal conduit and IMC have walls thick enough for threading. You cannot thread EMT.
Try hard enough.
Let's see somebody try hard enough. It'd be
We'll set you up on it.
very shallow thread. Probably not going to hold a whole lot. Using a manual thread. Anybody ever manually thread pipe? That is a pain in the ass to manually thread pipe. But these dies that they're using like this, they're still expensive. Like this is still probably $60 or $70 per size. But this thing actually ratchets for you. So this works just like the big threader out there. So see this little pin right here?
Mhm.
So that has a ratchet inside of here. So as you move this pipe up, this ratchets forward, and then you pull it down, and then you're pulling some threads off, and you just keep ratcheting it Like it is a workout to thread pipe like that. I give you all that highlight 230 second sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah. But using the manual threader, I've got step 4 highlighted. Insert the die securely in the die head. And then step 6, applying threading lubricant to the end of the conduit. Key in on the end of the conduit. You want some type of tap magic or something like that while you're doing this. But the hardest part of this is getting this thing started. Usually you have one hand on the end and you're trying to ratchet that thing. And once you get it started, it's not too bad, especially if you've got it clamped down pretty well. They also have portable power threaders, page 26. Anybody ever use one of those?
I've seen them, but I feel like they can throw you. They will throw you.
Those things will break your arm. My highlights for those in 232, first sentence. Installers can also thread conduit with a portable electric power threader, also referred to as a power pony. Top right of the page, I guess it's the second paragraph, third sentence, top right of page 26. A support arm accessory must be clamped to the pipe to counter the torque developed by the tool. I've never seen those whenever I've used them, but I could see how that'd be super useful because they will. I mean, I was probably 200 pounds when I worked at the steel mill, and that dude would throw me over a piece of pipe if it caught the threads in the wrong way. And it was always kind of like same thing with this. Like I talked about, like you had to have your hand pressed on the end of that to get it started. Same thing with this. You couldn't put your weight on it till you got it started, so you had to push it like this and push the button, and that's where, like, if it caught the wrong angle, it would throw you over. It could throw you over a piece of pipe. Just don't ever put yourself in a place where this thing can come up and smack you or something like that. They are very powerful. A lot of torque. You also have the portable threading machine. So this is also out there. This is what most places have.
I'm too familiar.
They have like the little hand pump that you're pumping. Is this what y'all used last time? Or did y'all use the big version? Is stupid nice. Like that's
same concept as that.
Yeah. Well, kind of, except for it oils for you and it opens up the jaws for you. Like that's a big part of it. I finally got the trigger to work on this one. It was just sucking air for the most part, but this is pretty much the same. This is less than half the price of that big one. That big one, that whole setup on that big one's about 13 grand. When you can get something like this for probably $5. So that's what most people have. Joining conduit, joining metal conduit. I have this sentence that splits the columns on page 27 highlighted. Making couplings wrench tight, not merely hand tight. So don't just hand tighten your couplings. They go through the steps of connecting RMC and IMC to a box or enclosure. I have all of step 3 highlighted and step 4. Box connectors require lock nuts inside and outside the box. Install the external lock nut approximately 3/4 of the way under the conduit threads, making sure the concave or depressed side of the lock nut's always facing the box away from the fitting. Then place the conduit fitting into the knockout hole. Install interior lock nut on the conduit threads inside the box, again making sure the concave side of the lockout facing the box. Leave enough of the conduit threads exposed beyond the interior of the lock nut to allow for the conduit bushing to be installed. Tighten lock nuts until connection ring is snug. So this is not using a Myers hub. This is just using 2 lock nuts to connect to the end of this. This is not how I like doing it. I like using that Myers hub because you have step 4 says install a conduit bushing on the interior threads. Tighten it snugly. Figure 52 shows the conduit inserted the box with both lock nuts and bushing in place. You have to put a bushing on this type of conduit. Let me go grab one of those hubs. So the way I like installing rigid metal conduit, this is half-inch stuff. You just install this on the end of your piece of pipe, and then you can fit this in the end of the box, and you can see it already has the bushing on it. And then you just install this on the outside, and this actually has, like, these have teeth on them, so they actually tighten up pretty well. It's easier to get, it's easy for me to get a piece of channel locks or something like that on them where I can tighten the crap out of them.
Like find it in the box.
Yeah, like those, like rather than using 2 lock nuts and a bushing, I like those. I mean, obviously those are a little bit more expensive, but I find those to be way easier and better than 2 lock nuts and a bushing. Joining PVC 242. First sentence, when joining PVC conduit, you need a compatible PVC cleaner, a compatible primer, and a compatible solvent cement. They do, I think they make like an all-in-one gray one
Rainer Shine?
that you can use. What?
Rainer Shine?
Rainer Shine?
Life or death?
Yeah, no, they got one called Rainer Shine. It's a combination of the two, and you can actually do it on wet pipe too, for like plumbing.
I've not seen that. Usually every time I have to get that stuff, I have to go buy new cans of it. 'Cause
They glue them
I
together.
won't do enough to where
Every time you crack it
it doesn't go bad. Yeah. All right, that's all the highlights I have for section 2. You got 4 questions right there. Knock those out pretty quick.
I'll file this for the house. So like this.
So next, well, we doing 2 chapters today?
Nothing real fast.
Yeah, I told them if we get through 2 chapters, I can let y'all go after that. This one, we've got another 10 pages, and the next chapter is about 17 pages. So if y'all want to work, it might be working for like a little bit later lunch, but I might be able to let y'all go close to 1 o'clock.
I'm fine with whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I'm chilling. Yeah.
All right, work on those for a
I
second.
just scared.
Next time you have to do a quick plumbing job, look for Rainer Shine. Works really good.
So the Home Depot.
I guess I think good. I don't want it. I'm about to go PTO. I guess I'm.
You possess this ability to like hibernate? Like, have you ever read up on sharks at all?
No.
Alright, well sharks can only breathe. They can't like move water through their gills unless they're moving. So they can't breathe unless they're moving, right? Well, they sleep. So what they do is they enter this state where they have their mouth slightly open and they just slowly cruise through the water while they sleep. But like at a moment's notice, that like something happens and they wake up. You are just like that. Whenever you hear highlight, you wake up and you highlight the thing, and then the next thing you know, I look back and you're back like this. Sleeping. But you're like a hibernating state.
Optimizing the best of both
I know. I
worlds.
just don't know. I don't understand how it's possible, but you do it every day. It's like crazy.
Justin can do it too, I think.
I
He's
don't know.
because I'm pretty sure he'll do the class, but
If you're talking about boats, I have never been on a boat.
yeah, I know, but I know what I'm saying. On the boat,
Oh,
if there's nothing to do, we can just sit in the thing. Like I used to just go to sleep
And
and
just
wait
chill.
for had a walkie and wait for my boss to.
like, hey, do something. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
The next time you have a raid, you should use this. So.
That sounds like Rocket. That reminds me of Rocket League.
See, you want to be an age advantage.
I really feel like that's a song in Rocket League.
It might be.
Like the goal sounds.
I think it's from a freaking anime or some shit.
In Rocket League, like half the music in Rocket League sounds like that.
What am I about to do?
Wait, Johnny Metal conduit, metal coupling, open to the couplings are coated with what?
You're being silly, Billy.
You're being bitchy, Richie.
You know it's wrench tight.
Give her the good old German. Guten Tag.
Guten Tag. Oh, I thought you were gonna say shiver.
Did you come at 6:30 today?
Yeah. Well, no.
Cool.
I took a bunch of shit. I came for 7.
All right, cool.
6:40 to be exact.
Yeah, I forgot. I was up at 5:30 and forgot why I set my alarm for 5:30.
Mm-hmm. You know why you was late.
Leonard was there as well as the Mac.
Yeah. So I was I had said
All I heard was
I said
so
it's
RDLs.
and I was like,
Something else?
bruh, why am I alarm going off so fucking early? And I went to sleep. I went back to sleep. And then I woke up. And I was getting dressed and said, damn, I was supposed to meet Elijah today. That's why I went out. I completely forgot. I didn't remember.
Happens.
I remember Monday though. Because I'm about to type in the alarm, Elijah. That's what I'm about. That's what I do for my, I always do my Band of Brothers shit right before class. And I type in Band of Brothers so I know the window that's early.
Shit did squats today.
We built like squats.
Mm-hmm.
Today.
There's Papa
What's that inflatable exercise? Well, that's what you're
For some reason, push-ups are harder than fucking bench press.
How the hell?
I don't know. I struggle doing bench press. I'm struggling doing push-ups, but I'm bench pressing.
It's a much more full body workout to do push-ups. You're using your whole core and whatnot. Really?
You're using your core on bench press too.
Not really.
Yeah.
If you
To keep yourself on the
correctly.
bench, that's about it.
Yeah, I was
A
saying,
push-up is a plank and a push-up at the same time.
Yeah.
You ever thought about that?
and you're using a lot more of your back with your with the push-ups. If you're benching correctly, you're really honestly only using a very small amount of your chest and your what is this? Mason, what is this?
You fucking retarded.
Triceps, biceps, whatever.
Tricep.
Yeah, it is.
You're actually not using my chest.
Tricep is here. That's
Oh, I
That
didn't
is your
This is
forearm.
forearm.
Whatever.
Tricep is right here.
This is stress.
Yeah.
I do not think there's 3 muscles there.
That's really small.
Yeah, a lot of
There's no muscle here.
There's a little bit.
I mean, a little bit, so yeah, it's like.
if you look at like strongman competitions, a lot of strongman competitors have stopped doing bench press completely because it's a much less it's a pretty useless workout, honestly.
I'm talking about big numbers.
Well, it's mostly an ego workout. It's actually a very poor utilization of muscles. If you want to use more muscles, overhead press is a lot better.
To my
No,
right,
no.
Yeah.
What? No, you're inclined. That's shoulders you're working out. If you want a chest workout that actually is effective, just do an incline bench.
Well, no. So like the reason I say that is your chest muscles are actually very much not used for weight. Like when it comes to the strength of the muscle, your pectorals are really very poor as far as it goes to
load bearing. They're good for stabilization, but when it comes to load bearing, your main muscle that you're using is your traps.
Well,
Oh, what that is? I was doing this at the gym the other day. I took a small. I was doing this at the gym the other day.
Why do you think people got big chests?
this motherfucker's bad ass.
Oh, you got big chests.
It's just for looks.
I want one.
Yeah. Also, well, yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Big chesticles.
Why you got titties on this little chest?
Oh,
I got massive badonkers.
You got the pepperoni nipples with those?
hopefully.
Yeah, I don't think I got pepperonis.
We'll tell you.
You got the salami nipples?
Next chapter, 17 pages. What's the old?
Once we get through this one, let's move down.
Can you just go through that one and take both tests?
That's what we're doing.
He said he
Oh.
wanted to finish
We're not stopping taking that test for one day.
No, we are.
Oh, yeah, we're definitely gonna stop and take the test.
Yeah.
What time is it? It's before 10, right?
There's 9:20.
Yeah.
Fuck
He wants
it.
to finish this one and let us do this. And then
I don't need one.
his plan was
I
to
don't need
go.
one. Just want to go home.
Well, yeah. He did say he had a meeting, right?
Yeah, so he's hoping to get through this. Let us take the test and go to the meeting, which would be our break, and then come back and
And
do
finish
everything
the
else,
second one.
and then we,
How long is meeting?
Don't know.
6 to 9 minutes.
This probably fucking hate you.
You know that answer if you ask me. If you ask me a question that has to do with time or how many
Oh
of
my
our
God.
it's not like
money did you make this year?
6 to
If
9,000.
If I ask you any question, I'm not gonna give you an answer.
I'll give you a real answer if it's a.
That's not the one time I asked a question in the group chat that y'all gave me a real answer.
Cause you ask stuff, you usually ask stuff that you don't know because you weren't there by your own choice.
So what are we supposed to do
Nobody
right now?
wanted to give you an answer.
My dick.
Wait, I wasn't there.
But if you had something you were actually struggling with.
You know, because if I was Bryce, you'd give you an answer.
No, cause I don't give Bryce an
You,
answer,
Bryce.
he asks who's driving, and I'm like, I say I'm not explaining it anymore.
Yeah.
I told him that the other day.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I treat everybody the same. I give them a little leeway, and then when I'm tired of it, that's like my point of where I cut it. Like, everybody has the boundaries and stuff. I cut that off and like, that's it. That's my limit.
Well, his limit was when he started taking pictures of
That's just a fun. It's a little fun thing that
That's a fun thing.
He found something funny.
I found something fun to do while we were doing this stuff. It's not
Ah.
beneficial a little bit, but it's not super fun. I like the labs though. The labs are alright whenever the instructions are
Why?
correct.
Labs?
I got a lab too at the house. She was really mad yesterday. She wanted to play last night when it's normally her bedtime. She was like, "What's the deal?" Apparently she heard something outside and she was pissed off. She didn't go investigate it. Right when I opened the door, she went out in the grass and I heard "Rrrr," and I heard another set of legs running and some like metal clanging. So I guess some animal ran under the house, but she was hearing it outside and I had no idea. She was pissed off from that.
Me and Dad
And
were
she
sitting
came
there.
out the other side of the house. It was just ran up to me. I was like, I did it. I'm like, good job. All right, go inside.
Me and Dad were sitting there talking last night. And that little fucking yapping dog, the new dog they got. He's sitting here just going. I'm looking. I said, "Can you shut the fuck up?" And he looks up at me and he just goes. I said, "Kill yourself." Dad said, "We're not that lucky." Because I can't stand that little fucker.
Why you got a little yapping dog?
People
Because my fucking stepmom was like, "Oh my
people
god,
like
it's so cute."
people like punishing themselves with bad decisions.
Like, we-
last years.
Anything smaller than like a Labrador is a cat. And nobody fucking likes cats.
Okay, first of all,
I love cats.
I mean, I love cats too,
My
but
Shih Tzu is not a
why not
cat.
just get a cat at that point? You know?
Shih Tzu is a little,
I'm allergic
one of those
to
little
cats.
egg yappy dogs.
You heard that, Alex?
Anything that's smaller than
A Labrador.
a Labrador is a cat.
And nobody likes cats.
Why
Nobody
do that?
likes cats.
My dog's definitely not small. Well, one of my dogs is a Labradoodle.
Oh.
That sucker's 90 pounds.
Yeah.
Bloodhound is 120 something pounds.
Yeah, so you ain't owning no cats.
Definitely don't have.
Our king horse is big and only grow between 90 to
That's a
100
big
pounds.
pony, is it?
Those must
Yeah.
be bigger than some
The
people.
shits it takes outside. Does not have a big yard. All right, let's go over these. Number one, which of the following statements is true?
Hey.
Hey. Hacksaws are designed to cut on the forward stroke only. Two,
Yes.
if the material has been properly cut, it is usually not necessary to deburr flexible metal conduit. 3, when using a manual threader to thread conduit, insert the correct die in the die head. 4, when joining metal conduit with couplings, make sure that the couplings are wrench tight. C. Last section.
Pretending like I was in tattoos on
You ever got a tattoo, Nathan?
it. On one special place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where?
Lower back.
I got a butterfly on my lower back with barbed wire around it.
Manly it up a little.
That means off limits.
Butterfly and barbed wire since mixed signal.
The butterfly means I'm a delicate flower, and the barbed wire means stay off of it.
Jesus.
Raceways. 310, wireway installation considerations. So I've talked about these wireways before. These are for like very specific design stuff. I actually saw these a bunch whenever I went to tour to Vita. Like they have like their bottling machine. Like they bought their bottling machine from somewhere in Germany. And Germany like designed all this stuff to where it was like a specific thing being bought that could be put in a specific amount of place. And they can fabricate all this stuff somewhere else. And then whenever it's like, it's a lot quicker to install this than it would be for electricity to come in and put in conduit. Because you can put a lot more, you put 30 wires in this thing, whereas you're gonna have to run a bunch of sticks of conduit and stuff like that. And this stuff is a lot more accessible for maintenance. Like you can flip these covers open. So if you had to run another wire, pull a wire out, they're a lot more accessible. But it's not ever something that I've installed or anything like that. It's usually like a pre-made thing for something you buy, or something your company would buy. But second paragraph in 310 on the right-hand side, the first sentence is highlighted. The sum of the cross-sectional area of all contained conductors at any point of metal wireway shall not exceed 20% of the total interior cross-sectional area of the wireway. So the wires cannot fill up more than 20%. The next highlight is skip a paragraph and is the next paragraph, first sentence. The NEC also states that conductors, along together with splices and taps, must not fill the wireway to more than 75% of the cross-section area. So that pretty much means that the splices and taps can't fill 55% of the wireway. So everything together can't fill up more than 75%. Next paragraph, last sentence is highlighted. Wireways must also be marked in such a way that the manufacturer's name or trademark is visible. You're gonna have a bunch of different types of components with these. It's pretty much like putting together some type of erector set. All this stuff is usually pretty sharp, but they just have different components as far as elbows and straights and T's and crosses and dropouts and stuff like that. And they go through each section and get those. So wireway fittings, I don't have anything in connectors, but end plates 322. the last sentence on page 31 is highlighted. End plates contain knockouts which make it possible for installers to extend conduit or cable from the wireway. So you can see in this last picture, like this end plate right here allows a piece of conduit to be connected to that. Also, figure 58 on the bottom left of page 32 shows an end plate where you can put a piece of conduit. Page 32, you have T's. So whereas a conduit, a T has 3 ways of going. A T can be, I guess they're calling it a cross 4.
Yeah.
Okay, a T still has 3. Yeah, T has 3 connections. They call a cross has 4. No highlights in T's, but crosses. First sentence of crosses are highlighted. Crosses have 4 openings that are attached to other waterways sections with a standard connector. Elbows, they have a bunch of different types of elbows. First sentence of elbows is highlighted. Use elbows to make a turn in a wireway. Second sentence. Elbows are available in angles of 22.5, 45, 90 degrees and are either internal or external. Nothing in 326 or 7. 330. Wireway supports. Top right of page 33. In no case shall the support be distance be greater than 10 feet. So at least every 10 feet, you have to support it. Suspended hangers, 331. First sentence is an online test question. First sentence, in many cases, a wireway is supported from a ceiling, beam, or other structural member. Online test question. So they got a picture of that up on the board or in the bottom right of your page 33. That just allows you to put the piece of wireway in that and snap it closed. So you can see this is just a compression type fitting. Slap that over and it snaps together. So it's really easy to install. Gusset brackets 332. First 2 sentences are highlighted. Another type of support used to mount wireways is a gusset bracket, figure 64. This is an L-shaped bracket that's mounted to the wall. This is a gusset bracket. Pretty easy stuff.
So bracket doesn't feel so good. What do you think?
Standard hanger, nothing highlighted in that, but it's the same same as a suspended hanger. It's just not hung from the ceiling. Trapeze hanger. This is pretty common among a bunch of stuff. First sentence, a trapeze hanger is highlighted. When installers must suspend a larger wireway, they may use a trapeze hanger, also called a wireway hanger. Right there, that trapeze hanger is using a piece of C-channel, but usually they're calling that strut. A lot of times, y'all mess with unistrut. Don't know what unistrut is?
Joel.
Anybody not know what
I know
unistrut is?
what it is, but I'm not drawing a
No,
blank.
I'm not sure.
You're talking about that seat shell part at the bottom?
Super useful stuff.
But it's got holes in it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just take it over to the big band cell.
This
Oh, okay.
So you have the smaller stuff that's a little bit shallow. You have this stuff is a little bit more rigid. They have all kinds of little spring clips and stuff that you can put in here that are threaded.
Yes.
Crap's expensive.
For some reason. It's just things. Inside stuff.
I mean, Home Depot for 10 foot for this stuff. I mean, $35. I guess it's $3.50 a foot. But they have all kinds of fittings. I'm not seeing the ones that.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
It has like a little string in it. And it like fits into the middle of
They have those allotted interlocks.
Reese.
Those motherfuckers.
So they are like trying to put these in. If you don't get them in just right, they will pop off and you won't find them.
Yep.
But super useful. Like you can see the little grooves in the side right there. These little grooves, that's what snaps into the part of the unistrut that like curls over like this. So it holds it in place. And then you can put a piece of all thread or something like that in there and hang it from a beam clamp from the ceiling. So it's just, again, like kind of like an erector set where you're just kind of putting stuff all together. But super useful.
Hey, we're being recorded, check.
I gave you all the trapeze hanger.
Yep.
340 surface, metal, and non-metallic raceways. First sentence of that is highlighted. Surface raceways consist of a wide variety of special raceways designed primarily to carry power and communication wiring to location away from the ceiling or walls or building interiors. This is a surface raceway. This is classic. This would be the non-metallic version, but stuff like that, that is a surface raceway. Out to the side of that, for the test question for that one, I wrote surface metal raceways are used for exposed installations on the surface of walls and ceilings. So surface metal raceways are used for exposed installation on the surface of walls and ceilings. Surface metal raceways are used for exposed installations on the surface of walls and ceilings. So where they don't want to run, obviously you don't want to run anything like this inside the block wall. I've even seen people do it on, they put this stuff on drywall and stuff. Rather than running a wire through the wall, they'll run a piece of this. It looks like, I think, in my opinion, it looks like crap. But they'll run this up and on the ceiling to like a ceiling fan if they wanted a ceiling fan in a room. Like anybody have a room in their house that doesn't have a light on the ceiling? No? But like
Yes.
there's some rooms that you can go in and there's no light or ceiling fan on the ceiling. It's required that you have if you don't have that, you have a switched outlet. And that way you can put a lamp in the room and switch the light on and off. That's a pretty, that's a cheaper way of doing a house. That's cheaper than putting in ceiling fans and stuff. Like all you're doing is putting in a plug. You remember those little tabs on the sides of plugs that you can break off, and one side of the plug is for one circuit and one side is for another circuit. So they'll make one side switch for this, like you're required to have a switch when you enter a door to turn on a type of light. So instead of installing a ceiling fan that might cost the contractor $200-300, they just run a plug, tear the tabs off the side, and that costs them $0. Right? So it's a little bit cheaper way of doing construction that the NEC allows. But a lot of times you buy a house like that, somebody can't pay an electrician or doesn't know how to run through walls, they'll put this stuff up and put a ceiling fan up themselves. Right-hand side of page 34, that first paragraph up there, last sentence is highlighted. Surface raceway can be used to route the wire on the wall surface, providing protection and more pleasing look. Not in my opinion. That one looks okay. I like that I wish it was like a 10-foot piece and it was all one piece. Back when I used to do classes in Steve's room, like the one running up his wall is like falling off the wall and like sideways, and surprisingly in the electrical classroom it looks like junk. Skip a paragraph. So third paragraph on the right-hand side of page 34, first sentence is highlighted. Additional surface metal raceway designs are referred to as pancake raceway because their flat cross sections resemble pancakes. That's the picture. Figure 68 on page 35 shows a pancake raceway. So that stuff has like compression, like this stuff has like a backing and then like compression. I'm not going to pull it off, but you can like pull this stuff off then it's got like a little clip where like this goes in and snaps in to the side. So same thing for pancake raceways. Cable trays. These are cable trays up here. Probably all of your plants have cable trays. Just another way of moving distribution of conductors. Second paragraph, first two sentences in 350 are highlighted. Cable trays are fabricated from aluminum, steel, and fiberglass. They are available in two basic forms, ladder and trough. Most of the time, you're going to see a ladder type.
There'll be a wall of flow through.
Stuff in it. Yeah, you don't want a lot of crap sitting in your cable tray. Page 36. First full paragraph, first sentence. Cable tray is commonly available in 12-foot and 24-foot lengths.
Look at the available widths, price.
First two are the most important.
Nothing on cable tray fittings or cable tray supports. I don't have anything on cable tray supports. A lot of times they're just hanging. Actually, I do have stuff on cable tray supports. If you look on page 39, you can see the different ways of mounting cable trays. So the big one you want, like threaded rod. So you have a hanger clamp right here, right? There's a difference between a direct rod suspension and a trapeze suspension. So this has little clips on the side. This actually has that C-channel or unistrut that's attached on the bottom. This can hold a little bit more weight. Or you can have the center hung support. On page 39, I have figure 74, the trapeze mounting. I have that highlighted. You know what that looks like. Wall mounting. Anybody remember where you use wall mounting?
For exposed stuff.
On the wall.
I pushed that pretty. Yeah, it's on the wall.
Nothing for the ceiling. It's nothing for the ceiling. To grab.
Usually, you're using wall mounting in like tunnels and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So that whenever you're running in a tunnel, you're not doing this number and trying to find your wires and stuff. Like you can stand up taller and you can kind of work in your inside your cable tray rather than trying to work over your head. That was always a missed question. I never understood why that was a highly missed question. You never. Whenever I taught that. Handling and storing raceways. Storing raceways. Right-hand side of page 39, that little small paragraph, first sentence is highlighted. The ends of stored conduit should always be sealed to help prevent contamination and damage. Last paragraph on page 39, first sentence is highlighted. Cover stored raceway with the tarp or other suitable covering to prevent the raceway from becoming contaminated or corroded. Last section, 360, handling raceways. They go through bullet points on stuff you should do to handle raceways. The third bullet point on the right-hand side is highlighted. Flag the ends of long lengths of raceway when supporting it to a job site. All right, you got section review, module review, and the practice test. I'll go get the practice test now. I'm gonna give you about an hour and 15 minutes to do this stuff. So if y'all want to go grab a snack or something, a quick breakfast at racetrack or something like that, coffee, you can do that. What's that?
Waffles.
Oh, you said muffin. But you probably have time to do that, but by 11 o'clock, let's try to have this done. We'll go through it, and that way we can take this test around 11:30. Start on the next chapter and get that done by 12:30, and take that test by 1 o'clock.
And then we go.
Ambitious. You go home. Beat traffic on a Friday. No, I don't want to do.
That's a lot to make up.
2 is good. Yep, you applying for a job?
What you need an application for, Jared?
Yes, going back.
Going back to you?
Yes, temporarily, like 3 months.
Can't just go show up.
I've been going way too long. But I am, Sean did say he hired me back though. I sent him a text. He knew why I was going. But yeah. Going you people on that. Look like you can swap. You're not going either, bro? Just wait till you get home. Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm not going to use the application. You know what I want? You know what I want?
Turn.